Black Panther was a good movie, but not without its problems. It still is another revolutionary step in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, blending a web of intriguing backstory, a solid round of characterization, and saturating the screen with a mesmerizing backdrop of Wakanda. This review will contain spoilers for Black Panther, but I highly encourage everyone to go watch the movie yourself and make your own assessment before watching this review. You have been warned. The story begins 1 week after the events of Captain America: Civil War. A young prince named T'Challa is still mourning the death of his father after a bombing raid was conducted at the United Nations. There's more TV chatter that gives exposition to the events of King T'Challa dying in the event. It also mentions how the perpetrator Baron Zemo is now under arrest. You know, just in case you missed these movies and you did not witness a guy with a metal fucking arm jumping in the middle of traffic like a spider monkey. But I digress. Anyway, the window for mourning is cut short when there are poachers who threaten the nation of Wakanda. They want the Wakanda metal for their own uses, for their own needs. The rare metal is called vibranium. It's an exclusive substance that crash landed on the African continent and slightly explains why Wakanda is so technologically advanced. But we'll touch up more on this point later because it does get a little ridiculous when they don't explain certain things. After T'Challa disposes of the poachers in a fight scene that is darker than makeup sex with Helen Keller, we're quickly introduced to the females that accompanied the king on his adventures. Nakia is the ex-girlfriend of T'Challa who cares deeply about him as the story progresses. Oyoke is a loyal servant to the throne, but she has a distinct belief of honor first and foremost. Shuri is certainly one of the brightest minds in Wakanda, and she is the sister to T'Challa. She isn't afraid to crack a joke here or there in the face of danger, and that's what makes her unique. I don't know all the names of the actresses, so I apologize once again, but I will say just go look at the cast. Black Panther has some of the most powerful, distinctive females in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They really brought their A game to the table when it comes to that exuberance from the supporting cast, and it shouldn't go unnoticed. It really didn't feel like diversity was being shoehorned down my throat for a certain demographic. It really didn't feel like they underutilized a character for sexual appeal. These felt like organic, kick-ass women with their own opinion on guiding T'Challa in the right direction, and I thought that was fantastic. Chadwick Boseman plays the Black Panther very straight, very nonchalant, almost stoic in nature of trying to be the ruler of Wakanda while also following in his father's footsteps, but ultimately antagonistic forces like Eric Killmonger, he really starts to warp and put the protagonist back on the right direction, and I really love how the movie plays with morality considering the political conflict. Alright, so we have the two baddies of this movie, Ulysses Claw and Eric Killmonger. Claw is very notorious in Wakanda. He has gone rogue and he's been a massive poacher for almost 30 years. Even his father, T'Challa's father, T'Chaka, has been trying to capture this guy to no avail. And that starts to become a major plot point of the movie, trying to capture Claw and constantly failing at it in the process. So we have a situation. Eric and Claw are trying to steal a rare piece of vibranium from a London exhibit. The body count starts to stack up, and you see that unhinged, over-the-top nature come out of Andy Serkis. He's a great actor. Great. Absolutely great in this movie. He is very over the top, but he does his job. I swear it's like Andy Serkis who plays Ulysses Claw, he would be that motherfucker who would be your friend first and then shoot you in the back of the head in a video game after lying to you that the team killing option was toggled off. Anyway, the hunt for Claw is where the movie really starts to pick up, because it's 20 minutes of backstory, a cool fight scene, T'Challa warding off defenders of the throne, and then the movie starts to pause a bit. It starts to take a few unsentient breaks just for you to enjoy the vistas of Wakanda. This is a fantastically shot film. It's so gorgeous with every little detail popping to life, and there's some great color correction and special effects, but I feel those moments were breaking up the segments with layers and layers of eye candy just to give you a breather, but the pacing could have been done better if they altered a few things or changed a few elements. And I do think that the CGI kind of falters in some areas, like there's a cliffside with people on it and you could tell they are behind a green screen, obviously. One thing I didn't like also is how Killmonger seems absent for a large part of this movie. He's the main freaking villain, and outside of all that beautiful sightseeing, I think it's a crime that I realized about 1 hour in that there was no Killmonger around. I was like, where is the villain? I forgot he existed, and then he pops up out of nowhere to make an impact again. Michael B. Jordan, and I guess you could say the story really redeems itself when Killmonger pops back into the picture, because it's discovered from an earlier flashback that King T'Chaka, that man's dirty. He's into some shady shit. He really isn't the man that his son looked up to. T'Chaka had some skeletons in his closet with killing his own brother on American soil just to protect Wakanda, and leaving everything behind in that scene. This includes that dun 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 plot revelation when you discover that the little boy whose father was killed by King T'Chaka was actually the father of Killmonger. It shakes the belief of the majority of Wakandans when Killmonger comes back into the scene and he challenges the throne. He basically brings the body of Ulysses Claw to Wakanda. I don't know how he found it, but I guess he knows somehow. But then again, the movie does explain that he is ex-CIA or some sort of covert agent, because he has training with like a few people in the agency. It does explain that Killmonger does have government training under his belt, so that's why he's a good fighter. So maybe he is good at reconnaissance as well, gathering information. But there's a scene where he brings the body of Claw to the Wakandans, and then he says, "This is my birthright. It's time for me to step up to the plate. T'Challa is not doing what you people really need after failing in his mission to gather Claw and bring him back to Wakanda. I managed to do his mission in no time flat, so it's time for a new king." Then we have that fight with Killmonger and T'Challa, and it's pretty brutal. I love it. I love that fight so much. One of my favorite practical fights in the movie, and I enjoy how Killmonger's intentions are just so in your face, man. He's so blunt. You could easily agree with his opinions, and it's pretty goddamn true that the Wakandans, especially after what T'Chaka did, they are greedy as hell. They are about their own people. They are about their own civilization. They are not willing to share any of their resources to the rest of the world. They are sheltered. They are a sheltered civilization because they fear what will happen if the outside world manage to get a hold of their resources. And Eric Killmonger comes into the picture and he basically debates all of this. But he wants what he desires. He believes that he deserves to be a better king. However, Killmonger is still a villain. He still does the wrong things. He still kills his own kind despite accusing T'Challa of doing the same thing. He's a person who wants to justify war. War is going to be the focal point of Killmonger exacting his revenge And this is where you have a point of divergence, because despite Killmonger having some agreeable opinions, he's still doing the wrong thing. He's using the Wakanda weapons to be a war dog. But it's that political drama that makes you think about character motivations. And guess what? It's
so good.
I wouldn't rate Eric Killmonger as the best villain of all time. A lot of people are putting him on that pedestal, and I think it's kind of crazy. For Marvel Cinematic Universe standards, he is a great villain, but best villain of all time, I can think of other people like Heath Ledger's The Joker. The Joker was pretty good. He had complex dialogue that explained all his anarchy, and I thought that was done really, really well. He's not super complex in that category, but he's not a pushover. He's not some pseudo villain who got his mustache CGI'd off. He's the right batch of realistic, just misguided to a large extent. I also love how T'Chaka's actions paint a picture in your mind, like what would Killmonger be like if T'Chaka chose him, if T'Chaka brought him back to Wakanda and raised him there. What would happen if he made the right decision? Who knows? But the story went on the way it did, and at this point I really did like it. I'm not going to lie. Either way you slice it, this doubt shakes the foundation of T'Challa. What his father did shakes his very core, second guessing his father of doing the right thing when he was in the Panther God universe for a second time. That was really emotional. It had that emotional heft that I think Marvel movies need a lot more of, to be honest. There's a big climactic battle at the end, and man, it was just too erratic to keep up with. There was a lot of CGI rhinos and CGI Black Panther Rubberman going about, and I think that kind of hurt the impact of the final fight. I love the stuff with the tribe. That was pretty cool, but the two Black Panthers fighting and not looking real at all, I think that should have been changed. I know Chadwick Boseman said that those suits are very uncomfortable, and it seems like they really didn't get insulation down for Black Panther, but I would have enjoyed a practical fight scene over something that doesn't even look real, and I think that kind of hurt the final fight scene, if I'm being honest. CGI can look good if done right in Black Panther, but it seems like an afterthought here. I wish they would have stuck to this. I wish they would have stuck to more personal practical effects used in the earlier fight scenes. At the end, Killmonger, he gets shanked like a prisoner who didn't hand over his cornbread in a timely fashion, and T'Challa basically starts to follow in his own footsteps. He starts to do the right thing, and it brings the story into a full circle that he is his own man. Black Panther and the nation of Wakanda open up their resources to the rest of the world, as he personally puts it. You get the idea. Black Panther starts helping out people across the nation, finally breaking the cycle of what his father ultimately did, which was become greedy and influenced to protect his people so much that he became so sheltered, whereas his son is charting a new path and hopefully charting a new future for young people who really don't have any of this aid, any of this support that Killmonger possibly didn't have as a kid. It is so symbolic. I love it. And holy shit, Bucky Barnes awakes in the after credits, even after they tried to lie and say that Bucky Barnes was not going to be in this movie. To some extent, he is in the after credits. I love this. Of course, there are some things that they could have explained better, like maybe they could have explained if the Soul Gem really is in Wakanda or not. They really didn't talk about Infinity War stuff too much in this movie, which is a little bit disappointing outside of that after credits. And then we have the whole scene with Shuri talking to Martin Freeman's character about vibranium, and vibranium apparently heals people. I thought it was a rare metal that made weapons stronger, but apparently not. It can heal people, and it's never really explained why. Just vibranium does everything, even heal people. Once again, just to summarize, the things that I like were the beautiful vistas of Wakanda. It's a very lovely and engaging world, and I really didn't want to leave it anytime soon. The badass female leads, they had a good balance of jokes, drama, and action. They had a cohesive and easy to follow story, rife with comic history, and they had relatable Wakandan politics that really didn't feel shoehorned because we're just trying to be black. The issues I didn't like that they could fix for a sequel would be too much CGI, practical effects all day, please. Killmonger is absent for the second act. Really disappointing. He's the most important part to the story, and you couldn't give him a little bit more screen time. That sucks. Some action scenes are way too close cam. Like, I was watching one fight scene and it was zoomed in to the point where I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see what blows were being made. Granted, all fight scenes are not like this, especially some of the fight scenes where people fight T'Challa for the throne. But there are way too many fight sequences that are zoomed in way too close, and I think that should be fixed if they do make a sequel. I do think that Chadwick Boseman did decently, however, I wish he had more exuberance. You know it's bad when the sister of Black Panther, Shuri, who is also a female Black Panther in the comics, you know it's bad when her role outshines Boseman in a lot of degrees. It's like he's the main lead, he's the Black Panther. How is he being outshined by a side supporting character? It makes no sense. I wish he did have more charisma, have more time to play around as the Black Panther. It seems like in the suit, he's pretty much A-okay. He makes a lot of quips. He has the best scenes in the suit, but outside of the suit, he's very stoic, and that can come across as very boring. Granted, there's nothing bad about Boseman's performance. Maybe I'm being a little bit too nitpicky, but I felt he could have brought more to the table. Even though it was good, it's not great. I still give Black Panther a 8.2 out of 10. It's a thoroughly enjoyable film. Even with its problems, it doesn't derail the fact that it's rife with a very enthralling world. It has very interesting characters, and I'm going to be honest, it's one of my top 10 favorite MCU films to date, maybe top 5 at this point. Hopefully Kevin Feige keeps this movie in mind when going forward, that it's okay to dare to be different when adding a new movie to the formulaic nature of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because this movie, it accomplishes a lot of good things when introducing us to something new, and I think that should not go unprecedented. It really goes to show that some of these Marvel movies can be different and still head in a direction where other movies can pick up the slack and say, hey, we're not just going to be a normal routine Marvel movie. We might have bits and pieces, but we're going to do our own thing, and we're going to try to be ambitious. And I think this movie accomplishes a bit of that in that regard. Also, remember, if anyone says you're racist for properly criticizing some of the flaws, because this movie is not a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Come on now. It's a good movie, but if someone says you're racist for criticizing this film, if someone says, well, this movie is for black people only and you deserve to get the fuck out, you deserve to not see this film, if someone says that, of course, people are hyping this movie up that are black people in general and they don't enjoy a good Marvel movie and Disney is the devil, remember to classify these people accordingly, and remember, you can enjoy what you paid your bottom dollar for. Just remember that if you fall into this weird category where you bring so much outside fluff, racism, and politics into Black Panther, then remember,
You're batshit insane!